Hello, welcome to MJRRPG. The following is an overview of the Season 3 bundle of my Flash Cthulhu series. Starting last January, I've released one short, 1-hour scenario per month, under the series title Flash Cthulhu. The final 4 are completed and now part of the Season 3 bundle, as well as together with the previous season into a full 12-scenario Year 1 bundle. I'll give a short logline and general theme for the last 4 scenarios, and then a more detailed explanation and overview after warning off potential players. Flash Cthulhu scenarios are usually 6 pages long, come with 4 pre-gen investigators, and are written to fit, if very snugly, into a 1-hour session. They also come along with suggestions on how to extend the session, how to work in pre-existing or custom investigators, how to adjust difficulty for Pulp Cthulhu, how to continue with follow-up sessions, and how to swap eras or settings. To fit the 1-hour time frame, they are mostly limited to a single location and have some sort of ticking clock element. As such, many of them are meant to be stressful in some sense for the players, pushing them hard towards a rapidly approaching ending they may not be prepared for. Scenario 9, Lost in the Stacks. Coventry, England, 1947. Staff and patrons of a recently reopened small library find their evening interrupted by a frantic visitor searching for a particular book. Lost in the Stacks is a dreamlike trip in a literary setting, slowly, or slowly as an hour allows, building weirdness until forcing the players to make quick decisions with limited information. Scenario 10, Whispering Bones. Los Llanos, Venezuela, 1861. The Federal War rages. A party of Federalist guerrillas on a foraging expedition head to a small hacienda in Los Llanos, seemingly untouched by the war. Whispering Bones is a conventional, closed scenario, with an emphasis on investigation and PvP tensions, splashes of brutal violence, and a very clear and pressing ticking clock. Scenario 11, The Cavernous Haunt. Transcaucasia, 15,000 BCE. A group of exiles find an odd cave to hunker down in during a frigid autumn rainstorm, but they aren't the only ones seeking shelter. The Cavernous Haunt is a classic Flash Cthulhu scenario, with a mix of social and physical interaction with a chance of violence, stuffed into a small location with a looming danger forcing stressful decisions, but with some Paleolithic flavor. Session 12, Christmas on Cairn. Pierk Station, Cairn, December 25th, 2099. It's Christmas, the first for Pierk Station on Cairn, and Tico Exo's Corp CEO and founder, Bry, joins the station's skeleton crew and station AI for a live-streamed, though with a 5-hour time delay to Earth, holiday event the human race will never forget. Christmas on Cairn is the weirdest of the bundle, and probably the most out there of the whole series along with Sell Yourself. Admittedly difficult to run and play, but it should make for a neat change of pace for experienced groups. If any of these sound interesting, you can find the Flash Cthulhu Season 3 bundle, along with the Season 2 and Season 1 bundles, or the full Year 1 bundle, on DriveThruRPG. The following section will have spoilers for all 4 scenarios, so if you're thinking of being a player, I would suggest stopping here. Scenario 9, Lost in the Stacks. Lost in the Stacks is set in one of the archetypal Call of Cthulhu locations, a library, though while most of the pre-gen investigators have respectable library use roles, in my playtest, few players actually made use of them. The scenario is overall a very reactive one, with the keeper having almost total control of the pacing and therefore the session length. This can leave some players feeling dissatisfied though, with little time to take stock of the situation and devise plans, so a keeper should take care to leave a few minutes of breathing space here and there. The nature of the scenario's threat also means it's a fairly individualistic scenario, with players not having a lot of opportunity to interact with one another once things kick off. This is supposed to heighten the tension, as everyone is forced to deal with their own issues, but it once again risks annoying the players if the spotlight remains on one investigator for too long, or if everyone feels like they're playing their own little solo game, overlapping with one another. The scenario structure is simple. The investigators wander about a small library as they are beset by increasingly vivid, and dangerous, hallucinations from their favorite classic, and out of copyright, novels. Investigators cannot see or interact with one another's hallucinations, and while investigators can be harmed or even killed by their own hallucinations, others cannot see any physical evidence of the wounds. This can end with the fun situation of one investigator forever feeling and seeing a horrible amputation of the jaws of a dinosaur from Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's The Lost World, though others can clearly see and touch the unfortunate investigator's unharmed limb. Escaping the library is the easiest, and in playtests the most common, solution for the investigators, but getting to the source of the hallucinations and saving the library requires finding a mythos tome hidden in the storage room. A few clues can lead them there, but keepers would probably need to heavily emphasize them for the players to pick up on them. And even then, if using the pregens, most players would still probably roleplay their investigators as wanting to get out alive over solving some weird book mystery. The tome eats text, sucking away the written words on all the books in the library. When a frantic French NPC investigator hunting for the tome enters the library at the beginning of the scenario, the book attacks by consuming him, and then turns its attention on scaring away, or killing, the investigators. They could track down the tome by remembering what the crazed Frenchman yelled at them, noticing the disappearing text in the library books, or the weird pleas for help appearing in the books. The Frenchman, consumed by the tome, can exert some influence on the books. The closer the investigators get to the storage room, the more aggressive the hallucinations. If all else fails, a kind keeper could give a POW or idea roll to give the investigators the impression something is trying to keep them away from the storage room. But even if the players aren't interested in tracking down the tome, the group can still have some frantic fun escaping the literary hallucinations. The pregen investigators are beset by adversaries from Alice's Adventure in Wonderland, the Sea and Whale from Moby Dick, dinosaurs from the Lost World, and the creature from Frankenstein. If using different investigators, there could be plenty of opportunities for more creative and more copyright-restricted hallucinatory threats. Scenario 10, Whispering Bones. Whispering Bones is meant to be a very tight scenario, even in the confines of the Flash Cthulhu formula. The investigators are stuck in a spooky hacienda, surrounded by armed opponents that will inevitably kill them if they try to escape, and they very quickly realize something is in the hacienda with them. The closed location and ticking clock should keep the pacing moving along steadily, with the keeper able to push the players towards a suitably violent conclusion, whether the players instigate it themselves or otherwise. It is also undoubtedly the most violent of the series, with little chance for a non-combat oriented outcome. The creature haunting the hacienda, a Call of Cthulhuized El Cibon, or the Whistler, pushes the investigators towards killing one another. If the investigators don't take the bait, El Cibon directly confronts them, with little to no chance of the investigators surviving, though the creature continues offering chances to kill one another until none are left. Or, of course, the investigators could try to flee into a hail of bullets from the cultists surrounding them. The scenario does offer some initial investigation of the hacienda, letting the keeper ease up the tension. Though in playtest it became easy to let the players poke around for too long. A timer to regularly have the creature's whistle sound, making the timing of the ticking clock more obvious, helps encourage the players to start making decisions and stop peering into every dark corner. As with any Call of Cthulhu scenario, or RPG game really, and especially in short sessions, combat can grind pacing to a halt. The investigators all being heavily armed and in short range should ideally mean most violent confrontations end swiftly and fatally, and El Cibon has high enough stats that most attacks should obliterate whoever is unfortunate enough to be in the way. Ideally, the environmental exploration will show what confronting the creature will result in, leading the players to make a conscious decision to kill each other, flee, or suicidally fight the creature, rather than the ending being an anticlimax with the spooky monster suddenly popping up and killing everyone without any heads up. Scenario 11, The Cavernous Haunt. Despite the exotic Paleolithic setting, the Cavernous Haunt is once again a fairly straightforward setup. The investigators are in a cave that turns out to be more than a cave, with a storm outside and something approaching. Closed location check, ticking clock check. There are fewer bangs or levers in the keeper's arsenal to reinforce the timing, meaning there is a risk players will be caught off guard when the keeper decides to start the final act, though the scenario also has a small risk of the players ending it very early themselves, though one of the few bangs could interrupt this. The investigators, outcasts from a Paleolithic tribe, find shelter in a cave during a frigid storm. As they investigate the cave, they quickly find out it is no natural structure. Indeed, it is an old and abandoned Elder Thing outpost, fitted with a still-functioning portal to their city beyond the Mountains of Madness. Should the players stumble into operating the portal, there is a chance they could teleport themselves out of the session in under half an hour. The first bang is meant to interrupt the investigation of the cave, especially if the investigators seem to be coming close to escaping the location. Another small group of wounded people show up at the cave, begging for shelter and warning that something attacked them. It is, of course, a good old Shoggoth. Confronting, questioning, and then either allowing the outsiders or somehow deterring them usually provides enough distraction to prolong the investigation for a little while longer. At least enough time to hint towards the approaching second bang, or the arrival of the Shoggoth. When the flubbery old bastard does arrive, the players will hopefully have enough information and be ready to make a decision. confront the creature, obvious death in most cases, flee the cave, man likely freeze to death, or try activating the weird wall portal thing. A well-timed arrival makes the escape frantic, possibly leading to one or more investigators staying behind to slow down the Shoggoth while the others escape, or try to, as the gate requires a large expenditure of MP to activate, likely meaning sacrificing a potentially dangerous amount of supplemental HP. Scenario 12, Christmas on Karen. The final scenario, Christmas on Karen, is also the strangest. Like the fourth Flash Cthulhu title, Sell Yourself, it is meant to play with the system and general role-playing game expectations. It therefore comes with the risk of annoying players coming into it expecting a traditional Call of Cthulhu investigation. Christmas on Karen begins typically enough, though in a futuristic setting, with the investigators in a scientific mining station on Pluto's largest moon, Karen. A regular enough constrained location. After some initial stage setting, the investigators notice a suitless figure walking towards the station across the surface of the moon, which will probably reach them in a little under an hour. Ticking clock, set. But then things get weird. For the rest of the scenario, the investigators find their consciousnesses being progressively mixed together, effectively giving the players control of each other's investigators, until ultimately every player has full control over every investigator. If running the scenario as a single session one-shot using the pre-generated investigators, and especially if the players have run through other Flash Cthulhu scenarios or similar short one-shots, this can cause some whiplash, as it is in a way changing the scenario from a traditional RPG to a sort of storytelling RPG, with the players no longer inhabiting a single character and instead collectively controlling the whole party. While using the included investigators creates some fun extra tension as they have conflicting views and intentions, I would be curious to see how the scenario plays out with existing investigators, and how players deal with the potentially long-lasting characters being suddenly shared with the rest of the table. Once again, if any of this sounds interesting, you can find the Flash Cthulhu Season 3 bundle, along with the Season 2 and Season 1 bundles, or the full Year 1 bundle on DriveThruRPG. And thank you for listening. As always, credit to Cryochamber for use of their album, Cthulhu. Until next time, have a good one.